sometimes two shows can exist in completely different worlds and still feel like they're somehow connected. That's exactly what's happening right now with HBO's It, Welcome to Derry, and Netflix's Stranger Things. On paper, these two series shouldn't be compared. One's a prequel to Stephen King's terrifying It universe, while the other is an 80s sci-fi adventure about kids, monsters, and government secrets. But after Welcome to Derry Episode 3, the comparisons have become impossible to ignore, because that one episode didn't just echo Stranger Things, it felt haunted by it. And maybe that's not a bad thing, because when you dig deeper into what's happening, you start to realize both shows are connected by more than just kids and monsters. They're both about the curse of innocence, the power of friendship, and how evil hides in small towns pretending to be normal. Let's break this down: the story, the scene, the theories, and the hidden details that prove why It, Welcome to Derry can never truly escape the world of Stranger Things. The perfect timing: 2 monsters, 1 release window. Before we even talk about story, let's start with timing. Welcome to Derry is still releasing episodes on HBO, just as Stranger Things is preparing to drop Volume 1 of its final season on November 26th. So both shows are literally airing side by side. 2 supernatural worlds, 2 groups of kids, 2 monsters that thrive on fear. That's like the horror version of Batman v Superman, except this time it's Pennywise versus Vecna. Coincidence? Maybe, but timing isn't everything. The tone, the themes, and even the visual language of both shows feel like mirrors of each other, especially after Welcome to Derry Episode 3. The scene that started it, Derry's graveyard moment, Episode 3, gave us one of the most memorable scenes so far, the graveyard sequence. Here's what happens. A group of kids, Lily, Will, Ronnie, and Rich, decide to take photos in a cemetery to prove that the supernatural force haunting Derry is real. They're not ghost hunters or trained experts. They're just scared, curious kids trying to make sense of the horror that's stolen their friends. Teddy, Phil, and Susie. Lily wants proof so she doesn't get sent back to Juniper Hill Asylum. Ronnie wants to prove his dad is innocent. And the others? They just want the nightmare to stop. So they come up with a plan. Bait the entity, take its picture, and finally prove it exists. But the plan goes wrong. Horribly wrong. As they perform their little ritual in the graveyard, something awakens. The ground starts shaking. The earth cracks open. A red glow seeps out from below, like hell itself is breathing. And the ghosts of Pennywise's victims begin chasing the kids through the fog. It's chaotic, terrifying, and yet strangely familiar. Because if you've ever watched Stranger Things, this scene feels like deja vu. Why it feels like Hawkins all over again. Let's look closer. The kids on bikes, racing through danger. The fog-covered graveyard, glowing from an unnatural red light. The shaky ground and the feeling that something from another world is about to break through. It's Hawkins, Indiana, reborn in Derry, Maine. It's hard not to see the similarities. In Stranger Things, the kids fight Vecna, a monster that feeds on fear and guilt. In Welcome to Derry, the kids face Pennywise, a monster that is fear itself. Both villains invade the mind, twist memories, and create hallucinations. Vecna pulls people into visions, haunting them with guilt. Pennywise does the same, projecting illusions to paralyze his victims. In both stories, fear isn't just an emotion, it's the weapon. And when you think about it, that red glow in the ground during the Derry graveyard scene, that's pure upside-down energy. A visual echo of the gates between worlds and Stranger Things. That's why the scene hit so hard. It wasn't copying, it was rhyming. The losers, Club versus the Hawkins gang. Here's the real reason these comparisons keep popping up. Both stories are built around the same emotional DNA. A group of young kids united by fear, trauma, and friendship, standing against something the adults refuse to see. That's The Losers, Club from Stephen King's It. And that's also the Hawkins gang from Stranger Things. Both groups represent the same idea. Evil hides in plain sight, and only the kids are brave enough to face it. In Derry, it's the adults ignoring Pennywise's killings. In Hawkins, it's the government covering up the upside down. The kids are the ones who see the truth and pay the price for it. That's why both shows hit so deep. Because it's not just about monsters. It's about the loss of innocence. Every bike ride, every flashlight beam, every whispered plan in the dark. It's childhood versus the impossible. And somehow, the impossible always wins. Parallels in fear. Pennywise versus Vecna. Let's talk about the monsters themselves, because this is where things get creepy. Pennywise and Vecna may look different, but they share one horrifying similarity. They feed on human emotion. Vecna traps his victims inside their minds, replaying their pain until they're destroyed from the inside. Pennywise, on the other hand, manifests the very things his victims fear the most. Both villains understand something fundamental about human nature. The mind is the most dangerous place to be trapped. In it, Welcome to Derry. When the kids see the red glow or the cracks in the cemetery ground, they're not just seeing dirt, they're seeing their own fear breaking through reality. In Stranger Things, when the Upside Down leaks into Hawkins, it's the same thing. Fear manifesting in physical form. These parallels aren't accidental. They're creative DNA shared across decades of storytelling. And here's the twist. Stranger Things was inspired by Stephen King's work in the first place. The full circle of inspiration, the Duffer Brothers, who created Stranger Things, have said multiple times that Stephen King's stories were their blueprint. You can see it everywhere. The missing kid, like Will Byers mirroring Georgie from it, the small-town setting, the group of misfit kids, and even the evil that hides behind authority. So when Welcome to Derry feels like Stranger Things, it's not imitation. It's the original story reclaiming its own style. You could say, Welcome to Derry is Stranger Things' ancestor, not its copy. Because before Hawkins ever existed, Derry was already cursed. He hidden breadcrumbs in Episode 3. Episode 3 doesn't just give us the Stranger Things-style chase scene, it hides multiple clues about the larger It universe. The camera. The idea of capturing supernatural proof mirrors Stranger Things' use of lights, radios, and photos to communicate with the Upside Down. Juniper Hill Asylum, a recurring King location, also appearing in The Shining and The Dark Tower. It connects Derry to a larger Stephen King multiverse. The red glow, that mysterious light under the cemetery, might not just be hell. It could be a sign of the Deadlights, Pennywise's true cosmic form. The group ritual, the kids, plan to bait the entity, echoes the ritual of Chud, a key element from King's original novel, where unity and imagination fight fear. Every moment in this episode is layered, like an echo of the It mythology, disguised as a Stranger Things moment. Why fans keep comparing them, and why that's okay. Let's be honest, the comparison isn't going away anytime soon. The kids on bikes, the monster in the dark, the red glow, it's all too easy to connect the dots. But here's the truth. These two worlds belong together in spirit. Stranger Things was born from the DNA of it, from the idea that the power of childhood friendship can fight monsters. And Welcome to Derry is now echoing Stranger Things back, visually, tonally, and emotionally. It's like horror storytelling has come full circle. Think of it this way. Without it, there's no Stranger Things. And without Stranger Things, a new generation might never have discovered it. That's not competition. That's evolution. What this means for the future, as Stranger Things prepares to end with Season 5, Welcome to Derry is just beginning. And the timing couldn't be more poetic. Fans who've spent nearly a decade following Eleven, Mike, and Dustin are about to lose one supernatural world and gain another. If Welcome to Derry can continue to balance nostalgia, horror, and emotional storytelling, it might just become the next big torchbearer of supernatural TV. And honestly, it deserves it. Because while Hawkins had portals to another dimension, Derry has something worse. A monster that isn't from another world. It's from ours. The real difference. Science versus superstition. This is where Welcome to Derry and Stranger Things truly part ways. In Stranger Things, the horror has science behind it. Laboratories, experiments, alternate dimensions. In it, the horror is ancient and spiritual. An ageless being that feeds on fear itself. One story tries to explain the monster. The other accepts that it can't be explained. That's the difference between sci-fi fear and cosmic horror. Vecna is the product of man's curiosity gone wrong. Pennywise is the result of the universe's cruelty. And that's what makes Welcome to Derry feel heavier, darker, and far more disturbing. Final thoughts. Fear never dies. It evolves. So maybe Welcome to Derry will never escape the Stranger Things comparisons. And maybe it shouldn't. Because both shows are telling the same story in different ways. The story of childhood versus fear. Of innocence versus evil. Of light versus the monsters in the dark. The difference is, in Derry, evil always wins for a while. But here's the haunting truth both shows share. Evil doesn't die when you defeat it. It hides. It waits. And one day, it comes back wearing a new face. So when you see the kids in Derry riding their bikes under foggy skies, or when you hear the echo of laughter that shouldn't exist, remember, this isn't just another show. This is fear repeating itself.